Okay, guys, we're gonna get started. I know there were a couple of students who had asked about what we did last week, and what we did last week was really no big deal. It was kind of an intro to the class that I'm going to be teaching this semester. So really, what we're going to be covering is procedures. Okay, courtroom procedures, procedures of the court reporter. So it wasn't any big deal. I didn't videotape it because it wasn't that big of a deal. We're just going to do an intro to what we were going to cover, the chapters we were going to cover, and what's going to be expected of you guys. Did you guys get the book? Does everyone have the book?
No.
This book?
It's coming.
It's coming?
I should have mine by next week. They said I should have one.
By next week?
That's what they said.
They're dealing with this.
I should have mine tomorrow.
Everyone else have it?
No, I mean, it's coming.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to need the book, because you're going to have to read chapters ahead. We have 40, I think there's 42, there's 40 chapters to cover in about 12 weeks, okay? The semester is 16 weeks. The first week we didn't do anything. The last week we're going to take the exam. The week before we're going to cover what's going to be on the exam. And then the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we probably won't have class, okay? So that cuts us down to 12 weeks that we have to cover 40 chapters, okay? So there's a lot of material that we have to cover, and I wouldn't make plans for Wednesday evenings, okay? We're probably gonna be here till 8:30-ish, maybe sometimes 9, depending on how much we have to cover. So, like I said, you know, and I don't mean it bad, guys, but I'm not a sugar coater, and that's just the way it is. I'm not a babysitter. You know, I'm not gonna wait on you guys. You guys are paying for this class. You come take this class, you know, whatever, okay? If for some reason you have to leave, you can't come, whatever, it's gonna be on the wiki, it's gonna be on Canvas. So, I mean, if for some reason you have to leave, don't freak out. You know, it's still gonna be, I'm recording it every week. So it's still going to be on there, so if for some reason you have to leave, I mean, you can watch the last part of the class or whatever. But, I mean, it's always better if you're here. You know, interactive is a lot better, so. But you do what you want. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to babysit, so you guys do what you want. But I'm here to help you, okay? Believe that. I'm here to help you. But I'm not going to babysit, okay? Y'all know what I mean by that? Pretty much?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have a lot of stuff to cover, so, you know, when you come in, be ready to go. I know that, you know, we had some technical difficulties, you know, today, but hopefully that's going to be fixed from now on, so we should be good. Yeah?
One question, not necessarily when we took this class, but Monday is Labor Day and class is off during the day. Does that still apply to night class, or we come on Monday?
No, I think it's off all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, there is no class on Monday. So those of you that have my Eclipse class, there won't be class on Monday. So the following Monday, be ready, because we may stay a little bit late on that Monday, okay?
That's fine.
And like I was saying, you know, for some of you that need to leave, you know, because you travel or whatever, I mean, you do what you need to do, okay? And I'll work with you guys, I really will. I mean, I don't want to sound insensitive when I say that I'm not gonna babysit. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm here to help you guys, and I'll help you in any way. Text me, email me, call me, whatever. If you have a question about something, you can always do that. So, okay? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And the first chapter covers considering court reporting as a career, okay? So, what I'm going to need from you guys every week is I'm going to give you the chapters that we're going to cover the next week, and I should have done that last week, but you know, we need to cover that every week. So what I'm going to need you to do is read the chapters that we're going to cover for the next week, because we're just going to go over a lot of that stuff pretty quick, you know, and the stuff that I think is really important, we're going to focus on a little bit more. So, and then if you have questions about stuff that we've read, maybe stuff that we've lightly touched on that I didn't feel was extremely important or whatever, but you still have questions about it, always ask, okay? The dumbest question is the question not asked, okay? So don't feel like, you know, you can't ask something, or if somebody's already asked it and you didn't get it or you didn't hear it for some reason, don't be scared to ask again, okay? Is it, everybody got that? Okay. So, you know, some of the reasons for becoming a court reporter, I mean, you know, what were some of the reasons that you guys, you know, came up with? How did you hear about court reporting? You know, who talked you into it? How did you hear about it? Why did you choose it? I can tell you kind of why I did it. You know, I had taken a typing class in high school and I was good at it, so my parents thought that it would be about the same thing, and it's not. It's not the same thing, you know. It has to do with finger dexterity, absolutely, but I mean, it has absolutely nothing to do with typing. Because you're a good typer doesn't mean that you're going to be good on the machine, and because you're good on the machine doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do 90 to 100 words a minute on the typewriter. I was kind of lucky. I was able to do kind of both. I was doing 90 words a minute on the typewriter, so they thought that I would be okay, and it just happened that I was. Actually, I forced myself to become a court reporter. I wasn't going to let it get the best of me, and that's how I became a court reporter. You know, and it's all about mind over matter, I believe. Other people believe otherwise, you know, and it is what it is. I mean, you know, but I think that's why the dropout rate is what it is because it is so tough. It's mentally tough, and it's going to be mentally the toughest thing you probably ever do in your life. You know, this thing is going to demand more of you than anything you've probably ever done. You know, and it did me. I mean, you know, and I'm not here to sit and brag or whatever, but I mean, you know, things kind of came easy to me. You know, sports came easy. School, I really didn't have to study as hard. You know, I didn't take AP classes, and I wasn't on the honor roll, and I didn't graduate valedictorian. But I mean, I made A's and B's. I just had to listen in class and, you know, whatever. So this was the first thing that I ever had to work at. And so it was hard for me. I wasn't used to having to work that hard. But my parents had instilled in me at a very young age that, you know, once you start something, you don't stop. Once you get to the end, if you don't like it, then you can do whatever you want, but you're going to get to the end and you're going to finish. And that was what kept me in. There were a lot of times that I, you know, wanted to quit, and, you know, it wasn't an option. I wanted to, but it wasn't an option to do it. Okay, when I got to the end, if I didn't like it, then that was something different, but it wasn't something that was going to beat me. So, you know, somebody have, you know, a story of why they chose court reporting and how you chose it, why you chose it, how you heard about it. You in the front.
I hired one. I was a city secretary
Yeah.
at a municipality, and part of my job, and a huge part of it, was to record all the minutes.
Yeah.
And even though I had to go to every council meeting,
Yeah.
besides planning and zoning and
Mhm.
everything, so I asked for an increase in my budget. And then I had to ask for another one because I didn't realize how much they actually were. So I had a friend who was a court reporter,
Mhm.
and she actually left her county position to take on the job at the municipality that I worked for.
Yeah.
And then she got hired on in the 2 towns next to us,
Mhm.
and then the school board hired her.
Yeah.
So she owns her own business now.
Yeah.
All based off of doing this.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and a lot of the reason that I got in it too was, I mean, we had a friend of the family that talked to me about it, and all we knew what he did was he messed with this little machine and he made good money. That's all we knew. That was it. You know, and it's like, shoot, how hard could it be? You know, little machine, finger dexterity, I've got that. Make good money, I'm all about that. And it's not until you get into school that you realize, you know, how demanding it is. But, you know, this is a profession. It's not a job. Don't ever forget that, you know. And there's a big difference between it being a job and it being a profession, and you take pride in what you do. you know, and that was one thing that my parents and my grandparents instilled in me, is you take pride in what you do, you know, and you know, regardless of what it is, whether you're flipping a burger or whether you're, you know, doing your profession, take pride in what you do, okay? And this is a profession, you know, and I say it not to make fun of people that flip burgers or whatever, but I mean, you can kind of teach anybody to flip a burger, you know, and I'm not making fun of those guys at all, but you can kind of teach anybody to flip a burger or fry some chicken or whatever. But this is something that takes skill, you know. It's not something everyone can do. So that's why we take pride in calling ourselves court reporters, is because I feel like we're an elite group. You know, there's not many people that get out that do it, you know, and you know, I don't know what the statistics are now, but at the time when I had started school, I think the dropout rate was 90%. It's probably pretty close still to that, you know, and there's just not a whole lot of people because it's so demanding. But it is a profession, you know, it's not a job, okay? And that's why we get paid, you know, what we do, because it is a profession, okay? So, good physical and mental condition. Without a doubt, the court reporter and real-time reporter needs to be able to hear and see what goes on in a particular setting. In a very real sense, the court reporter is the eyes and ears of those who are present. The reporter's responsibility is to capture what is said and done, and then to share this information with others. So you are the eyes and ears of what goes on in a proceeding, okay? Don't ever forget that. I mean, that's why you're there. And they don't have a videographer there, or they don't have a tape recorder there. What we do is really important, okay? And people rely on what we do, okay? And if you don't believe that, you know, and hopefully you never go on trial, but I mean, if you do you want somebody there that's just kind of haphazardly taking the record? No. You want them to take an accurate record of what's going on. So, you know, that's the way that I kind of approach it every day, is that, you know, and what we deal with, you know, in my court, and some of you guys have come to my court and sat in, but, you know, what we deal with is parental rights every day. And that, you know, that's extremely high, you know, when on the sensitivity meter of people, that's high. Their children is, you know, regardless of what they've done, whether they've beaten their kid or the kid was, you know, drug exposed or whatever, sexually abused, mentally abused, domestic violence, you know, they've seen whatever. I mean, people still love their kids, you know, and it's a very sensitive issue. So, you know, they want an accurate record taken, and that's what your job is to take the accurate record, okay? So you are the eyes and ears of that court. Good health is very important, but probably more so in court reporting. Occasionally, the workday may be long. I mean, you sit there for long hours sometimes, guys. I mean, sometimes you go to court and you may write for 20 minutes all day. You won't in my court. You ever come sit in my court? Very seldom will you write for 20 minutes all day. I'd say minimum you'll be there, you'll write 3 hours, minimum. I'd say on an average day we probably write 5 to 6 hours. You know, probably 2.5 to 3 in the morning, and then 2.5 to 3 in the afternoon. You know, just depending on what kind of a day we have. So our court, you know, it's one of the hardest working courts down there. And I don't think anybody would argue with that has sat in my courtroom. Now, there may be some other people say, yeah, you've never sat in my courtroom. That's why, you know. So if you come and sit in, you'll see why. I mean, it's organized chaos is what it is sometimes, but, you know, we deal with a very important topic, and there's just a lot of it in San Antonio, and there's only 2 courts that cover all of it. Our court and the sister court that deals with the same thing that we do, so it's very important. So you sit for long hours, you know, so you have to be in you know, pretty good condition. You know, you can't have like a back problem or whatever. I mean, I guess you can, but I mean, and I kind of do. You know, my back hurts every now and then because of stuff that I've done, sports and whatever. So every now and then I have to get up, stretch, you know, a little bit, stretch my hamstrings. I stretch my hands all the time, you know, to make sure that I'm okay. You know, because your hands are what's doing everything. It's your mind and your hands. listening also. So you always want to make sure that you're mentally, physically fit. You know, you don't want to just kind of go in there and haphazardly, you know, think that you're going to do this job. It's not going to happen. You know, all of the traveling that you do, if you're taking depositions, stuff like that. So I mean, you know, there's some stuff that goes into it that you have to be. I mean, you don't have to be an Olympic athlete or whatever, but I mean, you know, just to take care of yourself. Working extra hours to finish a job that is due. I mean, you may be in a deposition for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, maybe 7 hours that day. And they say, you know what, we're going to trial. Today's Wednesday, we're going to trial on Friday or on Monday, and yeah, we're going to need that. 7 hours worth of stuff. Yeah, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid, but you're going to work doing it too. You know, and they used to say back then in school, you get about 40 to 60 pages an hour. So let's just say on the average, it's 50. That's 7 hours. That's 350 pages that you're going to have to do within the next few days. And they're going to want it before because they want to go over it, you know, before trial or whatever. So they may want it by Friday or Saturday. So you're working the next few days like crazy trying to get that thing out, and then get it to them so that they can go over the stuff. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I mean, the money's good. You know, the money is good, and you get to charge extra because it's a rush. You know, but, I mean, you're gonna work. But, you know, and that's why it just says, I mean, you know, you don't wanna be fatigued or, you know, whatever. You know, you wanna be in good condition to where you can get this stuff done if you need to, and you know, be able to get it done in a timely manner, okay? You should have, the reporter should have reasonable hearing and sight, have a good manual dexterity of both hands, and not be addicted or dependent on alcohol or drugs. We don't have any drug people in here, do we? Alcoholics. But, I mean, you know, you know what they're saying. You know what they're saying. So, but you know, you can't go under the influence, you know, to court or whatever. I mean, people depend on what you do. So, I mean, they don't want you coming hungover or, you know, still drunk from the night before or, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, that's what they're talking about right there. Knowledge of punctuation and grammar. A reporter must have good English skills, which include vocabulary, spelling, grammar, and punctuation. The reporter is the word processor in the true sense of the phrase, and the reporter must process words. A reporter's whole business is with words, getting them down, reading them back, and producing them in an accurate transcript, okay? So people don't want to go in and, you know, you have a bunch of, you know, you start with a capital and end with a period, and this thing goes on for 6 paragraphs. You know what I'm saying? Just one big run-on sentence. I mean, you have to know, and you'll know. I mean, you know, people don't talk and just run on sentences, you know, most of the time. So I mean, that's what they're talking about, be able to punctuate. And the thing about punctuation too, and I think you guys take a class on that, grammar for the court reporter. I'm sorry?
Grammar of the spoken word.
Grammar for the spoken word. Because you can take a sentence, guys, and you can punctuate it 3 different ways, the same sentence, punctuated 3 different ways, and it can have 3 different meanings. So punctuation is very important, you know. So, you know, if you're very comma happy, be careful with that. You know, it's the way that they said it, and not the way that sounds best to you. Okay, and you're the keeper of the record. So it's very important that you keep that the way that it is, verbatim, okay? So, knowledge of world events. If you are considering becoming a court reporter, you should enjoy reading. Most reporters like to read books, magazines, articles, newspapers. Reading keeps one's mind in tune with what's happening of the day. Reading a newspaper just a half hour a day has remarkable results for the student of court reporting. Reading increases your vocabulary. It makes you more aware of what is happening on the local and national and international level. It entertains you and it informs you about a variety of topics. That is very important, guys, to be aware of what's going on. And, you know, because if you've never been down here and, you know, say you're taking a deposition and you're from, you know, maybe New York or somewhere, and a reporter brings you or whatever, and they're talking about the Eagle Ford shell. You've never heard that before? What's he talking? Eagle's shell, or Eagle has a shell, or what? You know, and you've never heard of it. You've never heard of this thing, or anything. I mean, it could be anything. You know, you want to keep up on world events, local events, international events, you know, just so you stay well-rounded, okay? And the more that you read, the more you become aware of how things are punctuated, the way things are set up, you know, stuff like that. So it really does help you. So it's very important to, I mean, you know, some people like to read. I do so much stuff with my proofreading and stuff that, you know, when I do have free time, I don't just read books. You know, I'll read the paper sometimes if the paper is there, magazine articles, you know, Sports Illustrated and stuff. But, you know, I always watch the news. I always try to watch the news, you know, one, because I like to know what's going on in our city, and two, because I like to keep well-rounded on local events, international events, you know, world events, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, you always try to stay as well-rounded as you can. Attitude. Certain personal qualities that most successful reporters strive for or have acquired in their careers are needed. The first quality is a good attitude. You need a solid, positive feeling about yourself and what you are doing. Many people lose good jobs because they have negative attitudes. You can avoid this problem by developing a successful attitude while in school. You can begin by developing a friendly attitude with your fellow students and instructors and all types of people whom you meet in everyday situations. In reporting, you must display a positive, mature personality and exhibit a cheerful, pleasant demeanor under pressure. You must learn to accept and profit from criticism without becoming defensive. In court reporting, as in most professions, immature behavior is not acceptable. To feel good about what you are doing, you must first feel good about yourself. A good, healthy attitude about who and what you are doing is important. Accept yourself with all your faults and shortcomings as well as your strong points. It's very important, guys. And it's something that I stress all the time. You know, and I think that it's very important in getting out of court reporting school. And I tell you guys, stay positive.